welcome back to the What Now Workshop. I know it's been a while since I've posted any videos, but today I've got another idea for another project. It's a pretty small project. I'm basically going to build a little platform for my son's drone. He's got this drone that can only take off from flat surfaces, and I thought if I made him a little platform, give me something to do, and it might help him out. And this platform I'm going to try to attach to a tripod. So let's check out what I'm doing. All right, so a friend of mine gave me a bunch of cutoffs. He does a lot of woodworking. As a matter of fact, he's got a cabinet shop. He builds cabinets, tables, all kinds of things. His name is John Fleming. I hope he doesn't mind if I mention his name, but this guy is a really skilled carpenter slash craftsman. Build some really cool stuff. So anyway, he gave me a bunch of these cutoffs that I was going to use for firewood. However, I have a couple of flat pieces that I've run through table saw to kind of make them even relatively. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting a groove in here, and I'm going to be gluing them together and making this platform. Now, this platform doesn't have to be very big, but I've already got my router set up with the bit that I need for making our groove, and then I'm going to be running the pieces of wood through to make this, and then I'm going to switch out the bit, and I'll be cutting off the other section of this piece of wood so they can join together. So basically I'm going to be joining all these pieces of wood, gluing them together, sanding them, and then I think I've got an idea for a design on it. So I've got my pieces run through my straight bit. And again, how I did that was I ran this right through and then made that groove. But now what I need to do with the other pieces, and I've made little marks here, what I need to do now is I need to run the opposite side. This is going to be my end piece, so I'm not going to be cutting that. But now I need to cut this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And again, here's my other end piece. And I need to use my rabbiting bit to notch out something like this, leaving the middle to fit into here to create my tongue and groove, or my mortising bit, or my mortising joint, or my rabbet joint. So I need to swap these bits out and then rerun this through. So I switched out the bit. So I've already routed out my channel for the groove part, and I swapped out the bit for a rabbet bit to cut the tongue part. And what I did was I ran this through and then flipped it over, ran it through again, so that way I've got my tongue part. And I've done that for all my pieces. So now the only thing left to do is put these together and glue it up, clamp it on both sides, and keep this flat. And then that will be our platform. And then from there, I'm going to maybe put an H right here. I have to figure out which direction I'm going to do it and whatnot. But that's where we're at for this. And the next step is to be gluing it and clamping it so it'll dry. Okay, so I've got this thing glued. I've got it all glued together. And obviously you can see that some pieces are a little bit longer than others, like this one here, that one there. But it's not a huge deal because I'm going to be cutting this on the table saw after it's dried. Now I've put some weights on here to keep this flat, because what happens is when you've got pieces that are just sitting on a table and you clamp them and you tighten them, the ends have a tendency to come up. So you want to keep weight on it to keep it down, but also clamp it so it stays straight. So we're gonna let this dry overnight. And then the next step is going to be to figure out our 10 inches, because that's what I'm making it, 10 inches wide, 10 inches deep. We'll run that through the table saw. We'll sand it, and then we've got some other stuff to do. So I have run this through the table saw. We are now at 10 inches front to back, 10 inches side to side. As you can see, it's nice clean cuts. Now the next step is to sand it, because we've got some pieces that kind of stick up. Specifically this one here, you can see the lip on this piece of wood versus this piece of wood. So I'm gonna run a sander over this to smooth it all out. Not so much worried about the bottom, but I may sand the bottom as well. Anyway, we're gonna sand this, and then I've got some other ideas for the top of it. All right, now we've got this piece all nice and sanded, and what I've done is I've got this set in between a couple of blocks, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to router an H, a big H. And it's basically, like I said, it's going to be for a helipad for a drone. So I'm going to router all this out. What I need to do is I need to use my router guide for my letter maker in order to use this bit right here. And that basically glides along this rail, just like the sign maker that I was using. This is actually part of that sign maker. So I'm going to use this as a nice straight edge to router out this H. Okay, so I have the H for my drone helipad routed out. And like I said before, what I was using was the guide from my SignPro kit that I bought a while back. And basically what I did was I ran the router along this edge to get my nice straight H. I didn't want to do it by hand. And I did one side, and then I flipped it over and did the other side, and then I did the middle. So here is our landing pad for our drone. Now I would like to put a little bit of sanding on this as well, again. And then I'm planning on filling this with epoxy after I paint this. So I'm going to paint this a color, like maybe a yellow, and then I'm going to put epoxy over it to make it flat so the drone can land and take off without falling into a groove of anything. And then I may put something on the bottom to attach to a tripod. So that way my son can attach this, he can screw it onto a tripod, and then he can take off and land wherever he wants to. So we have the H for our helipad painted. I painted it a bright orange color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stain it with some dark stain on the outside. And then I am going to let that dry, obviously. And then I'm going to coat this with epoxy and fill this in to where it's virtually flat. So now we're at the epoxy stage. I've got this coated with the stain, painted. Now we need to mix up some epoxy, because like I said, I want this H to be filled in and this to be entirely flat. So what I did was I went to Home Depot. I bought some Varathane Super Glaze high gloss epoxy. Figured I'd give this a shot. Never used it before, but we have to mix part A and part B into separate cups and then pour that into one cup, and then we can spread our mixture. I plan on using some gloves, and I've got a stir stick and a spreader basically right here. So when it comes to this stuff, always follow the directions, because like I said, I've never used this before, but directions are a friend at this point. So we've got the epoxy set. I apologize for the shadow of the light or the glare from the light, but this is what it looks like. I'll turn this way a little bit. We just need to let this dry now and continue on. Epoxy has been able to cure for several days. And as you can see, this has got a nice shine on it. I mean, this is like bowling alley shine. Nice and flat, nice and smooth. There's no grooves in it. And I was also able to put the screw that's needed in the back of it so it will sit on a tripod. Okay, so here is the platform, the drone platform, sitting on a tripod. It's nice and flat. One of the reasons why I made this and made it able to be set on a tripod was my son is very interested in photography and aerial photography, being a drone operator, starting his own business. He does a lot of great things for his church, a lot of stuff for recreation and whatnot, but he is a really good drone operator, and he's really wanting to be one of the best. So I thought, you know, why not help him out and build something like this? This is a piece of wood that can be unscrewed. He can take it with him in his backpack. He already has a tripod that he carries around for his other cameras. So why not make it easier for him to take off and land where there's no flat ground wherever he might be. So that's why I built this. And I hope he likes it. All right, so that is our platform for a drone. Made this for a couple reasons. One, I needed something to do, but two, I wanted to give my son something that he could use for when he's out in the field using his drone. See, he does a lot of photography and drone work for his church that he does work for. He also does some stuff for recreation, and I just wanted to make it easy for him to be able to take off and land his drone wherever he might be. You know, he's a really good drone pilot. He wants to be a professional photographer one day, I think. And if you want to, you can always go to his website, envisionstudiosaz.com. That's envisionstudiosaz.com. Check out some of the stuff that he's done. I'm pretty sure you'd be pretty pleased with it. And like I said, you know, the kid's great, and I just want to make sure that he's got what he needs. So hopefully he can use it. Hopefully he likes it. If not, well, there's another project down in the books. So thank you for watching my channel as always. If you do like the video, make sure you hit like. If you haven't subscribed yet, appreciate it if you subscribe. As always, see you next time in the What Now Workshop.